Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Vic and I'm a writer and an artist from Slovakia. In today's video I wanted to review my quarterly goals and look at quarter 2 and then set up new goals for quarter 3. So let's get into it. There were a lot of things that happened in quarter 2, which is April, May and June. First up, in April I finished my bachelor thesis, which was a monumental task, and I am so happy that it is finally done. Then in May, I started my very first job. In June, I managed to defend the thesis and now graduated in the bachelor program. Alongside that, I managed to finish writing Act 3, which I have started in January. So basically, I have finished it in 6 months, and that's absolutely crazy. And so that seems to be my quarter 2 in like a general review. Now let's look at the goals themselves. For my general goals, I set out to read 10 books, write 30,000 words, exercise 2 times per week, and finish Act 3. And out of these goals, I have finished all but the first one, read 10 books. Then, from the projects I have been working on, I have set out to work on the thesis, work on Act 3, finish 1 crochet project, and finish the map of my world. As I have mentioned, I have finished the thesis and I have finished Act 3. Unfortunately for the crochet, I only picked it up like this week, so nothing there. And as for the map, it's almost done, it just needs labeling, but unfortunately it's not finished, so I cannot cross off that one. And that is my little overview. So now let's move on to the more specific categories of writing. For writing goals, I had to write 30,000 words, then my goal was to finish Act 3, and the third goal was spend 1 day of the month on word building. As I have said, I have finished 30,000 words. Actually, I have written 70,000 words in the span of these 3 months, and of course I have finished Act 3. But I have not done the word building goal. I have done maybe 1 day of word building, but most certainly not 3. So that one cannot be crossed off. Now when I look at the writing in general, I have spent more time writing than not, which is great. But the monthly breakdown is where things start to look a little interesting. Because first off, in April, it seems I have written 46,000 words. Now this is a little misleading because I have been also tracking into writing the thesis, all of my essays, and all of my notes for that. So a lot of that is schoolwork and not writing for my book. But I have decided to include it anyway because all writing counts as writing, whether it is academic or for fun. Now May is a little more honest because that's where I finally got back to fully writing only the book. And this is kind of funny because in April I have always finished the chunk of what I wanted of writing on the thesis. After midnight, I would go back and write on my book for at least 30 minutes and still get the writing there. So I was getting incredible amounts of writing done in short amounts of time, and probably wasn't a good idea because that then caused a little bit of a burnout, and it took me 2 weeks of May to finally get back to writing at all. But then the rest of May went fine with the writing and ended up being at 8,000 words. So that's really okay for just 2 weeks of real writing. Now June was a little more ambitious because I have set out to basically finally finish the Act 3, and I actually managed. So my goal for the month was to write 15,000 words, and I have written almost 16,000 words. So that was really good. And I'm very, very happy that I finished Act 3. Now I only need to finish the rest of the book. Out of the 3 goals for writing, I have finished 2 of them. And out of the 3 monthly writing goals for word count, I have finished all of them. And I have written much more than I set out to do. would say that this quarter was a success when it comes to writing. Now for the category of reading for quarter 2, my goals were to read 10 books, 3 of which should be physical books from my physical TBR, and 2 of those books should be from started series, and the last goal was to review properly. Now, out of the 4 goals, I have finished just 1, and that is the 2 books from a started series. I have not read 10 books. I have finished reading 8 books, which is still great. And then I have about 3 books where I am about halfway, which I guess could count, but no, only finished ones. Out of physical ones, I think I have finished only 1 that I actually physically owned, and that being Dress of the Emerald Sea. As for the reviewing, none has been done in these 3 months, not in my journal and not on Goodreads either, so that is a complete failure. I will be hopefully doing a better job of this. I have been doing a really good job of this in quarter 1, and I have no idea why I fell off in this one. As for the books that I have read, I have started with Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, which is the second book in the Emily Wilde series. Then I have read Of Darkness and Light, which is the second book in the Bound and the Broken series. The next book is The Exile, which is a novella for the same series. And then, after 3 years of reading, I have finally finished The Dragonbone Chair. Then The Fateless, then Dress of the Emerald Sea, Fireborn, the first book of the Aurelian Cycle, and lastly, The Teller of Small Fortunes. And that is all of it for quarter 2. For quarter 3, I have decided to keep the goals relatively similar to the previous ones, because they have worked well so far. So for the general goals, first remains the same of reading 10 books. Second one is to finish book 1. And the last goal is to exercise 3 times per week, preferably at least one of them not being horse. The projects I want to work on for this quarter is, of course, book 1. Then I have a crocheted shirt in the works I need to finish. And I want to finish the map of the world. This is kind of twofold because I have a digital file that needs to be finished, but then I also wanted to transfer the map on this big cardboard and make this massive oil painting of the map. The writing goals remain somewhat similar, with the overarching goal being 30,000 words, and then the smaller ones are to write the epilogue. This should be very easy. Finish Act 2 and then do 1 world building day per month. And that should be relatively easy to do. I want to keep this one a little more real than the previous one. There isn't much left of the book, so I don't want to set up a crazy goal and then have nothing to write, but also I want to finish it relatively soon, keeping it somewhat lesser than the previous ones and taking it easy this time. And the reading goals are again very much the same. 10 books seems to be a reasonable number to read in 3 months, out of which I want 2 of them to be from my physical collection, and then of course I want to get back to reviewing everything I read properly, both in this journal and on Goodreads. As for which books I want to be reading, so far there are 2 that are on the TBR for sure, and those are the ones I am currently reading: The Bone Shard War and Of War and Ruin. And that are all of my goals for the next quarter. I am curious how it will go. I am hopeful that I have set up the goals in a more reasonable manner and that I can meet them in the required time.